Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the third session of Book Clubs Across Borders between Muzaffarabad and Bamyan. The book that we're going to be reading today is Alice Albinia's Empires of the Indus. It's a book that I personally am quite fond of because it's a fantastic tool for research, and the information in the book is very unique because nobody before Alice Albinia had looked at the Indus as a way of storytelling. So the most important element in the book is the way she uses oral histories or personal narratives and stories to weave her whole storybook. So that way it connects with us more personally, and we get to experience the flavors of Indus as she continues in her story. So we get to know about indigenous arts and craft, the languages, the ethnicities, and it's just done supremely well. Another resource for the Indus that I would really like to talk about is this YouTube series. It's called Sher Darya, and it is done by the BBC. It is put together by this really amazing reporter who was a Pakistani national and worked intensely for the BBC. His name was Raza Ali Abdi, and in the 60s, I think in the 80s, he had traveled all over Pakistan, India, and some parts of China to cover the trail of the Indus. And he calls Indus the Sher Darya because there is a legend associated with it that the mouth from where the Indus emerges is like that of a lion. And if you look at the legends, which are very fascinating, another really fascinating angle that comes in is that the river starts from, in Pakistan, it starts from the Lakman Lake in China. And in Pakistan, it comes in from the Gilgit-Baltistan region. And even in the Gilgit-Baltistan region, there is a indigenous term for the river, which talks about it as the Sher Darya, which means the lion's mouth. And so the river that is the region, and that is so true for this particular river, is because it not only is a river that flows through Pakistan and connects to India and then goes further, but it is the main source of water for the region. Like, it is the origination of water system into this region. Otherwise, this whole region would be barren if we did not have this river. Another very interesting angle is that, the river Indus takes its name from the Indus Civilization. And Indus Civilization is one of the oldest civilizations in human history. And according to a lot of historians, it predates the Mesopotamian, the Byzantine, the Egyptian civilizations, the Romans, which come much later. So the Indus civilization actually is older, as per the historians' records, than the Egyptian civilization and the Byzantine and the Mesopotamians. So the fascination with river and the life that rivers provide is something that has always been kept in mind, especially by people who are interested in history. Because historically, what we have come to understand is that the river actually is a source of life. And before modern infrastructure changed the modes of travel, the river or the ocean routes or the sea routes were the basic routes that were carried out for trade. And that is something that makes it even more fascinating. So the river Indus not only is indigenous arts and craft and ethnicities of the region, but is also areas which are impacted by foreign civilizations. For example, we have, if we look at the river, the way it flows, again, like I said, it starts from the Gilgit-Baltistan region, then comes into the KPK. When it comes into the KPK, it splits off into flowing into the Kabul River. So, and one connection that it develops is towards Afghanistan. Then the same river flows from KPK into the Punjab region of Pakistan, splits up into 5 rivers. 3 of them remain in what is Pakistan today, and 2 of them go into what is Punjab of India. And then from there, after stopping and splitting in Punjab, it again comes together and flows into Sindh, falls into the lower Indus Delta, and becomes part of the Arabian Sea. And what is really, really fascinating is that throughout history, we've had a lot of invasions into this land by Persians, by Afghans, by the Arabs, and then later on by the Portugal, the Dutch, and the British colonies. And all of these invasions were done through the river route, through the water route. So the Arabs and the Persians and the Afghans came through the Indus route, and the foreign invasions from Europe started off by coming into the Great Arabian Sea, and from Arabian Sea they split up and followed the track of the river to find out different civilizations as they were exploring this land. Another very fascinating fact that I think you guys might find interesting also is that when Punjab was ruled by the Rajputs, and it was part of their empire. And Punjab was one of the most profitable lands in the world. And it was one of the most economically developed, one of the most, progressive pieces of land in the whole world. At that time, Queen Victoria had sent in a team of cartographers, people who develop maps, to come into the region and explore this region. And they brought in their ships from the Arabian Sea and parked there and moved into the areas that were providing sea route. So we had Surat, we had Karachi, we had Bombay, which were the basic belt that they could infiltrate. But in order to gain access to land areas, they had to cross the river Indus. And so obviously they couldn't just say that they were here to explore the region, to exploit it for trade. So what they did was Britain is very famous for its horses. So what it did was it said that it had brought a special gift of horses from Britain to the then Raja of Punjab. And the only way that the horses could travel from the port to the Raja was through the Indus route. So they took it on a boat. And while they were going to the Raja in Punjab, they also started mapping the route. And that is how they were able to gain access to the land routes within Punjab. And that is something that is very fascinating for people who are interested in history and who want to dwell more into what is the significance or what is the importance of rivers and how they help us in understanding civilizations. And that is one of the main reasons why we introduced this book into our book clubs, because we truly believe that this book is one of the most influential books in understanding not just the Indus route, but also understanding the different civilizations that are part of the Indus route. So it's a fantastic summary of all different ethnicities and different regions of Pakistan, and also its neighboring countries like Afghanistan and India, China on one side, and then the Persian border through Balochistan. Balochistan does not directly connect with Pakistan via the Indus, but what is very fascinating, again, like I said, if you look at water as being the source of life, you will find is that, as the Indus flows into the lower Indus Delta, and then from the lower Indus Delta, it falls into the Arabian Sea, it actually connects the coast of Balochistan to that of Sindh. And there is a lot of spillover of culture, of art, and of languages that you find. And it is, if you look at the folk tales that emerge from these regions, you see a lot of Baloch Sindh merging in folk tales. If you have read the stories of folk tales, that is something that you find very fascinating. Like for the Punjab, you have Sassi Pannu, you have Heer Ranjha, and then you come down and you find different stories which kind of talk about the region and the travel or the coexistence of different communities and how they support and help each other grow. So that is something that is truly fascinating. I understand that you did not have enough time to read the whole of the book. I would really encourage you. book has been shared on a digital platform as well with your teachers, I would really recommend that you keep it as a resource for yourself, and it will and it'll come in very handy for you as you try to explore and understand this region. And on that note, I'd love to know what my friends in Muzaffarabad thought about the book and what they would like to share with us. So Muzaffarabad, over to you.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Jogia.
Walaikum assalam.
This book is a very interesting book. This book is about impacts of industry, but the industry was flowed among 3 countries and passes from our country and then drained into the Arabian Sea. River, importance of river is too much in every country because river water can be used for agriculture purpose where rains are not enough in the whole year. We can use rainwater for agriculture for our drinking purpose where streams are not common, and river water is most important for our electricity because where there are rivers we can produce electricity and many more things for water to fulfill our needs. Can you hear me?
Hello, Jawad. Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, I told many things about books. This book is a very interesting book. Different topics are consulted in this book. And we found this book very interesting because autographs are very clear. And this book is about history. Some history topics are discussed there. Before our freedom and after our freedom, and some problems or refugees are also discussed here. Thank you.
The next dozen book on the hour. Next down. John.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Chan Perez. I belong to Christian family. Then I'm not a Muslim, but most Pakistani to be a Christian. And then one of the people of the book read, mostly book read in the backward in the Afghanistan to Bamyan, and at home made the friend of food, and the Mokis is against to festival of the Muslim families against Christian families. Then Ramzan is mostly used in Muslim families and against Christian families. Then for first one is Christian families are belongings to mostly pieces of harmfully mostly friendly in the people, and they say if you want to see on earth you should be visit on Kashmir, and it is a very beautiful place in the Kashmir, and it is the hills very pretty in this city against Bamyan, Afghanistan, and mostly uses in the home is eating in the Muslim families festival against Christian families. Muslim families are mostly uses in festival or good looking food and something, and Christian families are used to different something like it Christmas cake cutting in the midnight and burn its candles, and mostly used in decorating church and mostly used in Christmas tree use. And thank you
So much for that. I just wanted to ask my friends in Muzaffarabad, like, because you are part of Kashmir, there is this really lovely legend that emerges from there. It's a folk tale about the Gwasbery. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. If you could maybe share what you have been told about that folktale, if you know about it, and if you would like to share.
Can you question repeat, please?
So there is a very fabulous folk tale that emerges from the Kashmir Valley about Gwasbery. She is a mountain. So maybe you guys have heard of it while you were little. Maybe your elders told you that story, and if you could maybe retell us that story, because I know it from a very research point of view, but I would love to know what is the most common narrative found in your region on that.
कश्मीर को और किसको कश्मीर और in this city I'm sorry
You don't know, it's fine. I can tell you the story, the one that I know. Please, if anybody else would like to come and talk about the book, while you guys discuss amongst yourselves the story of Gwasbery.
Jaina, next about book.
Assalamualaikum. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, so this book was very interesting and I was so much impressed with this. The most interesting chapter of this book was Ramadan in Karachi, because it's very common in Kashmir too, because we all are Muslim, and but Ramadan and the way we fast is the same in Kashmir and all over the Pakistan, even all over the world. So she told us about when she came to Pakistan, and then she was told that Pakistanis are taking a lot of care on borders because Osama bin Laden was killed in those days. So when she came and she told us about how she felt when she came to Pakistan, and then she told that when she went to the Karachi and she was she went many people and her experience was so good. She told us about the she told us that when she was fasting for the very first time, she said she was fasting for the very first time, and she felt so much weak, and and then I guess she fainted, and then when she was taken to the hospital after she watched some babies who died, and she told us about the story of baby when the girl was admitted in the hospital, and when she was kept in the with labors, and some nurse who's called Dai was taking care of her. But when her condition was so much critical, but when she went to hospital and she's taken to hospital, the baby was died. Obviously that's very sad. That was a very hard time for that mother too. And then she told us about the clothing in Ramadan, all the people what kind of clothes do people wear, and about how do they fast. First, it's they fast, and about how they fast, and they do sahri, and then after they pray and they recite Quran daily, they offer their 5-time prayers and all that. And then she told us about the culture, how do people wear clothes during Ramadan, and yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for that. Anybody else would like to come and talk to us about the book?
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Sayyid Mohibur Rahman. This book was so interesting, but we have some small time to read this, so we can all study about the 5 chapters. And the most interesting thing is chapter number 2. I think it is about Eid, which is after the Ramzan. We are really enjoying with our friends, our families, and going through. First, we going to the prayer, offering a prayer, and then back homes to make a sweets to eat with our family, friends, and of course, we make a trips to our hilly areas in Kashmir for a photo. And after that, the most interesting thing is the pictures which are given in the book. The first pic is about our founder Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah with his dogs, which is very inspired to me that he also loved his dogs. Activities like simple people, like we also, I think before seeing this pic, that prime ministers or founders cannot have activities like these, like simple peoples. And it is also about I forgot the name, who was sick, Guru Nanak. He was also live in a Indus Valley, and he getting a bathing with his men. So it was so interesting. And also it was about the Sikhs, how they can come to the Gurdwara Sharif in Lahore and getting a dance with also men's, women's, and hijras. So it was so interesting book. And thank you so much.
Thank you so much for that.
I have a question for you guys. Can you guys hear me? Muzaffarabad?
Yes,
Yeah, so basically what Alice Albania, what I found in the book basically was that she is also exploring the legends across this region. So I would really like, Alia, ask you guys about this folk tale, about this legend. Is there any folk tale based in Azad Kashmir in your region which you can share with us? It shouldn't be really about the river Indus, but anything, any kind of folk tale or legend that is really popular in your area. Can you share that with us? Any Kashmiri folk tale, legend. It can be an urban legend as well. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Hamad Hamid Masih. I belong to Christian family.
Yes, please go ahead. We can hear you. Please go ahead.
I talk in Urdu. I don't in English.
Yeah, sure. Please go ahead.
यहाँ पे आज़ाद कश्मीर में बहुत मुख्तलिफ जगह हैं जहाँ पे बहुत अच्छी अच्छी जगह है घूमने फिरने की भी हैं। तो अब यहाँ पे बहुत लोग इंजॉयस भी करते हैं। यहाँ हिस्ट्री के बारे में भी बहुत कुछ हमें जानने को मिलता है। यहाँ पे महाराजा हरि सिंह जो इस जगह पे उसने अपना एक किला बनाया था, वहाँ पे मतलब सारा सेटअप था उसका। यहाँ पे बहुत सारी ऐसी जगह है जहाँ पे यादगारें, जहाँ पे हिस्ट्रीज बहुत ज़्यादा मिल सकती हैं। जानने के लिए बहुत कुछ है, आप नॉलेज में भी इजाफा हो सकता है। Just like Tatapani, Punch, Neelam, Birchinasi.
तो इन इलाकों में कोई कहानियां मशहूर हैं, कोई इस तरह की कोई दास्तानें हों कि जिस तरह हम लोग सैफुल मुलूक की दास्तान सुनते हैं, तो आज़ाद कश्मीर, सैफुल मुलूक तो नारायण कागान वाली साइड पे है, तो आज़ाद कश्मीर साइड पे कोई लोक दास्तानें मशहूर हैं जो आप हमें सुना सकें? पीर चनासी के हवाले से हो जाए, किसी भी इलाके के हवाले से हो जाए।
मैम यहाँ पे सिर्फ एक पीर चनासी के हवाले
Please.
Sure, I want to explain about some historical places in Azad Kashmir. There are many historical places in Kashmir like Sharda University, and which is about 1.5 century before the game. There are very precious signs of Buddhism and the bricks of their handicraft on stones. Then about Pitnasi, it's a very high place, about 11,000 feet above from sea level. And Pitnasi is well known for thick for us. And Pritnasi is a famous because one of our Sufi live here, and he kept his line with himself. Wherever he go, line follow him. And one more important place is our Red Fort in Muzaffarabad, where Maharaja Hari Singh lived with his men's and women's. He built his fort for his own purpose, and now fort is open for people to come and learn about our history.
Thank you so much, Jawad, for this. Thank you.
Okay, so guys, since you are not so aware of your folktales, I thought that maybe it's time that I share one. So, like I had asked you in the beginning, if you know about the legend of Gwasbery, I am constantly talking about this legend because it originates from your region. So I really think you guys should know this. So I'm going to share the story of the legend of Gwasbery. Then I have a fantastic audio narration of it in Urdu, which I will also share with you. And then I would really recommend that you guys go back and do some more research, ask your elders about what they know about this legend, because it is a part of your heritage. So, okay, so I'm going to start the story. So Nanga Parbat and its surrounding peaks have passed down the legend of Gwasbery, the goddess of light of the mountains. Once upon a time, the mighty Vastavaran was the king of the mountains and wore a crown made of stars. His might made him arrogant, and he was disliked by the hills that stood next to him. Haramukh, Nanga Parbat, and the other hills deplored him. When the cloud barred Vastavaran's hearing, they would utter bitter words for him. The beautiful Gwasbery, however, would remain calm and serene. He would not utter in words for the supposed king. He would retort at the hills that the mighty Vaswaran may have a crown, but his feet were on earth, and he was made of the same rocks as them. Gwasbery, made of ice and glaciers, laughed at the spite of the hills. She told them that she did not consider Vaswaran her king. In fact, she was Vaswaran's queen. The hills laughed at her, and she smiled again, for she knew what they did not know. As the sun set, a rosy radiance fell over the mountains. Gwasbery lit up with the luminance of the dying sky. She was alive. Her light caught Vaswaran's eye, and he glanced upon her splendor. Caught in the illusion of beauty and enchanted by love, he begged Gwasbery to kiss him, or he would crumble in desperation. In a game of words, the glacier-hearted beauty convinced the mighty king to bend and kiss her, and thus he fell, decrowned. Legend has it that the fallen Vaswaran now stretches horizontally across the Kashmir Valley, while his starry crown remains hanging in the sky. So this is the story and the legend of Gwasbery. There are so many fascinating things that come out of this legend. It tells us about the resilience. It tells us about the equality and the egalitarian system of the people. One of the most fascinating things about legends and folk tales is that it talks about the core moral values of a society. That is why they exist. That is why they pass down from mothers to their children. That is why they're sung as poetic words. That is why when you sit around a cozy campfire, your elders retell you these stories, because they can enchant you with the messages that are embedded in these stories. And that is why we all must really learn and understand the magnanimity of these folk tales. And you know, the most beautiful thing about the Indus is that as you travel across its path, you will come across many such folk tales. And each folk tale embodies the values of that region and will tell you in a very limited time everything that that region is about. So please try and explore these and try to learn more about your region through them. And like I said, I have a really good recital of the same folktale done for another project that we had done that I would like to share with you. And since we, unfortunately, Afghanistan is not able to connect, it is fortunate for you that I can share it because it's in Urdu. So I'm going to play the recording for you, and I hope you enjoy it.
फिरदौस बुरोए ज़मीं अस्तो हमें अस्तो हमें अस्तो हमें अस्तो कश्मीर खूबसूरत पहाड़ों वादियों झीलों आबशारों की सरजमीन दोस्तों एक दफा का जिक्र है अजीम वस्त्रवान जो पहाड़ों का बादशाह था उसकी ताकत ने उसे मगरूर बनाया था जिसकी वजह से अपने आसपास की पहाड़ियों को नापसंद था हर मुख नागा पर्वत और दूसरी चोटियां उसे बुरा भला कहती थी जब बादल वस्त्रवान के समातों से टकराते तो उसके लिए तलख अल्फाज इस्तेमाल करते अलबत्ता खूबसूरत गाशबरी हमेशा पुरसुकून और मुतमईन रहती थी वो कभी फर्जी बादशाह के मुतालिक कोई नामुनासिब अल्फाज इस्तेमाल नहीं करती थी वो पहाड़ियों से जवाबन कहती थी भले ही अजीम वस्त्रवान के पास ताज है पर उसके पैर जमीन पर ही तो हैं वो उन्हीं की तरह पत्थरों का बना हुआ है बर्फ और तोदों से बनी गाशबरी पहाड़ियों के हसद पर हंसती थी और उन पहाड़ियों से कहती थी कि वो वस्त्रवान को अपना बादशाह नहीं मानती दर हकीकत वो अजीम वस्त्रवान की मलिका थी पहाड़ियां इस पर हंसती जवाबन वो भी मुस्कुराती क्योंकि वो जानती थी पहाड़ियों को इसका इल्म नहीं था जैसे ही सूरज गुरूब होता गुलाबी रोशनी चट्टानों पर फैल जाती गाशबरी आसमान की दम तोड़ती चमक से जल उठती वो जिंदा थी उसकी रोशनी ने वस्त्रवान की आंखों को खीरा कर दिया और वो गाशबरी की शान और शौकत देखने लगता खूबसूरती के फरेब और मोहब्बत के शहर में गिरफ्तार वस्त्रवान ने गाशबरी से इल्तिजा की कि वो उसे चूम लेने दे वरना वो मायूसी के आलम में चकनाचूर हो जाएगा लफ्जों के खेल में हसीन बर्फीली पहाड़ी गाशबरी ने अजीम बादशाह वस्त्रवान को चूम लेने पर उकसाया और इस तरह वो गिर गया और बेताज हो गया अलामती अंदाज में गिरा हुआ वस्त्रवान वादी कश्मीर में उफकी सतह पर फैला हुआ है जबकि उसका तारों भरा ताज आसमान पर ही लटका रह गया
So I hope you like that story. And now every time you look at Nanga Parbat and you look at the mountain Gwasbery, you will remember the story. And when you look at the valley in which you live, you will remember Vastaran. So the beauty of all these legends is that they connect us to our history. They make us look at the world around us in a spectrum of things that we might not have explored before. It makes us take ownership of every valley, every tree, every mountain, glacier, river that flows through it. And through its existence, we remain true to ourselves and we find our identities. So when you look at these things, just don't look at them as inanimate objects or just solid pieces like trees or wood or mountains or glaciers. Look at them as a testament to their existence and through them yours. So on that note, I'd like to ask my friends in Muzaffarabad as to what they thought about Gwasbery and the legend that I shared. And have I perked them enough or piqued them enough or kind of explored their minds enough for them to explore this further as they continue their research and their exploration with history. So anybody who would like to come and talk about the legend that I just shared, I would love to hear your thoughts. You'll need to unmute yourself.
Assalamu alaikum. Yes, I will. When I went to any hilly areas, I want to explore them more as you tell the story in English as well as you play the recording in Urdu. So it is so lovely to thinking about that. Hills are also the legendaries and their stories about this. And even I'm thinking behind that I should start exploring from my phone, from Google about these stories that what will happen, what was happened to them, and these legendary things. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for that. And thank you for wanting to explore your legends more. So another very interesting thing that comes out of this book is the legend of Tila Jogia. It is a Tila means a small hill in Punjabi, and Tila Jogia is connected to the story of Heer Ranjha, and I'm sure you must have explored that as well when you were doing your when you were reading your book. So if anybody came across it and would like to share the story of Heer Ranjha, I would love to hear.
Last होगा basically ये last.
Assalamu alaikum. Here is the story of Punjabi story, and this story is very famous in Pakistan and Kashmir, and I think in all over, because Hiran's story is translated in many languages. And Hiran's story is all about their love and
Pure love.
Of their pure love, and how they love each other, and how their families and how their families force them don't love each other, and many more things. And the father of Ranja said him to, if you can make a stream from this place, I will accept your relationship with Heer. But when she do this task, and when he come back to home and told his father that I have done task given by you, a stream from here, and then his father told to Ranja that he is married with someone else, and at that time the hammer was in hand of Ranja, beat him in his head and gave his life away. I don't think this is an interesting story.
What was your favorite part about the story? What did you really like?
I don't like this story because I have another point of view.
Okay, what's your point of view?
My point is that if they love each other, when he is getting married with someone else, how can Ranja does not feel that? Love each other, love the name of feelings. She is married with someone else, and how Ranja cannot feel. And in love, death is nature. That is not what the death of Ranja is his own mistake. He committed a suicide because in love there is no suicide. If your lover is away from you, you have to die naturally. I don't think this is love. Suicide is, what type of love is this?
This is a really interesting point, my friend, because there are other stories as well. What's the one in Balochistan? The one in through the mountain. Farid and Shiri Farhad. So in the Shiri Farhad story, the same thing happens, right? He has to dig through the mountain to reach his beloved. But some poets have also said the same thing you're saying. Poets like Ghalib and Mir, they say the same thing. If he really loved her, then he should have hit himself with the axe and not the mountain. So I think if you explore your point of view on the story through poetry and through people who have written about the story, like me, like Ghalib, you will also connect with them.
I have no any interest in poetry, but I will read about this more.
Yeah, then you will read the poetry, right? It's related. It's related. You'll start to like it.
You know,
Yes.
like I don't know if you know the story of Yurmas and Malang Jan from Gilgit-Baltistan. So that's also a love story, but the story does not culminate in the lovers not finding finding their love. You know, it's like certain stories end in a sad note, like where the lovers don't get to meet, and some stories continue as as a testament to their love, in which they were able to reunite or to find union. You know, like there is another story that originates from Sindh, which is Nuri Jam Tamachi. The story of Nuri Jam Tamachi is also the story of union. Jam Tamachi is a powerful king, and Nuri, I think it's also mentioned in the book. And Nuri is from a fisherman community in interior Sindh. And when Jam Tamachi with his friends is going and exploring the region, he comes across her village, and he finds a group of girls who are at a well taking water. And Nuri is one of them. Nuri is known in the village for her wisdom and her beauty. When he sees Nuri, he is captivated by her beauty and tells his people to bring her to the royal court. And Nuri is forced and brought into the court. When he sees Nuri and he sees how unhappy she is to be in the court, he tells her that, okay, fine, I will marry you. And, you know, what I feel for you is true, and I don't want to keep you as a courtesan in my court, but I want to make you my wife. And Nuri's family is so overwhelmed with happiness and joy. Oh, our daughter is going to become married to the king. So they don't have any opposition. They get her married. And when Nuri goes into the Jam Tamachi's palace, she's really unhappy because she misses her village, simple life from her village. She misses the fish that she used to eat every day. She doesn't like the heavy, rich cuisine that is available to her. She doesn't like the conspiracies and the mysteries of palace life. She's a simple person, and she really likes that. And then the legend continues that, Nuri's brother would come every day in the evening bringing fish for his sister. And the palace wazirs, who really don't like Nuri because they believe that